most successful companies are the ones who probably focus on one market and are the best there. So to the companies that are probably growing and it's part of our audience, which advice would you give?
The biggest lesson I learned was definitely you lose control the further away you go.
Yeah, but I think when you have been more than 5 years in the industry through COVID, you realize that the number of apartments are...
Yeah, the biggest, I think quality over quantity, 100%. And I think...
to focus on efficiency, automation, and efficiency, which would be the ones that you think have the most value?
As much as I like the managed clients we've got, I don't really want to...
So then you move from operating also to investment. So you have Look Capital Group.
Because when I first started this gig, I had like a...
So in Dubai, you're doing management or arbitrage?
Management's great and rent to rent is great at the beginning to get you cash flow and get...
Welcome to Next Gen Rentals, the go-to podcast for exploring the evolving landscape of the vacation rental ecosystem. Here, we deep dive into the world of vacation rentals, share experiences, and tackle the industry's biggest challenges. Each episode features conversations with key players in the rental space, discussing everything from technology innovations to market dynamics.
Next Gen Rentals is brought to you by our main sponsor, Mr. Alfred. Mr. Alfred specializes in making vacation rental management effortless. Stay tuned to discover how they can transform your rental business.
So we are super excited to introduce Ryan Luke, the founder of Luke Stays and Luke Capital Group. Starting from scratch in 2018, Ryan has built an empire of holiday homes, investment, and coaching.
Yeah.
So please, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Abner.
If you want to give us a little bit of the explanation of your journey, I think it's going to be exciting.
So back end of 2018, I basically wanted out of my job. So I thought, how can I do that? And kind of had a bit of a search around. And most millionaires and billionaires seem to have real estate. So I was like, there's got to be something in that. So I started to explore it. And then 2019, kind of early, picked up first property, fell into Airbnb by accident. And then the rest is history, as they say, just kind of saw how good it was financially and just put more time and effort into it and then scaled it bit by bit and then ended up out here in Dubai in 2020 after COVID.
Oh, wow.
Saw kind of an opportunity to repeat the model I'd done in the UK out here. And I used to live here in 2010 till 2013. So I kind of always wanted to try and come back. So I can use that as a bit of an opportunity to do that. And and then just have been through the ups and the downs and everything in between and just continue to try and build the portfolio.
And so you started in the UK?
Yeah.
So this first year was in the UK?
Yeah. Well,
how big was your operation? Yeah, sorry.
So I had a very, very fast journey. So I picked up 21 properties in the first 7 months. Mm-hmm. I had 100 units by year one. A mixture between rental arbitrage, purchased and managed. Okay. And then we had 450 by probably end of 2020, early 2021. Mm-hmm. Bit mixed between here and the UK. But there was a lot of mistakes in those 450. Yeah. Well. So the number sounds great, but it's not all as good as it sounds. Yeah. And learned some hard lessons on that front. And then kind of scaled it back a bit and just have a nice portfolio now that is ticking away and more enjoyable.
But I've seen that you have also other countries, Ireland, Portugal.
We looked at, we did have various contracts in other countries, and I looked at buying a business in Portugal, which fell through. I also looked at Miami. So when I was out there, I had an apartment block agreed out there. But then certain things were happening in my life and also within the business, and it just kind of made me rethink things. And I figured that I don't need to a lot of the problems were coming from stretching too far and too thin.
Yeah.
And I think a big mistake a lot of people do is they think they need to go national or they think they need to go. Whereas I've literally scaled everything back down to 2 focus areas, which is the northeast of England and Dubai, and it just is a much nicer business to run.
And that is a very good learning too. I mean, early in the podcast, but I think it's an amazing learning, no? Because there is a lot of hype or like good reputation for scaling or expanding international. But if you look around, there are not many successful companies that are multi-city or multi-countries, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, the most successful companies are the ones who probably focus on one market and are the best there. So
100%.
So to the companies that are probably growing and it's part of our audience, which advice would you give? Like more specific into growing or not growing into other cities? Which
100% just stay. I think most major cities will have enough properties for you to make a lot of money. I think people, it's like social media, isn't it? People chase the likes and the shares and the comments rather than actually just focusing on quality leads.
Correct.
It's the same with, I think, the Airbnb industry. It's kind of got this proviso of like, oh, you've got to scale, you've got to have hundreds of units. And you can still have hundreds or thousands of units in one city. But the biggest lesson I learned was definitely you lose control the further away you go from one location. The more properties you've got in one location, the more control you can have in terms of we have all of our cleaners employed, we have maintenance guys, we have vans on the roads, and the whole thing is just so much easier when everyone's in-house. Whereas when you go to a different city, if you've only got 2 or 3 units there, you can't afford a van and maintenance and cleaners, so you're using external companies who let you down. And then it causes so much more problems. Like I had 75 ops staff here in Dubai at one point when we were across multiple cities, and the majority of the work was coming from the locations where we only had 2 or 3 units. Whereas we had like probably 60-70% of the portfolio was in the northeast, and that just ran like a dream. So I kind of looked at where we were wasting money, and I have 3 operational staff now.
Oh, wow. In Dubai? For Dubai or for worldwide?
For Dubai, worldwide. So for the UK and Dubai, we have 3 operational staff because we've controlled it all so much better. We're so much more efficient in what we do by just bringing it to 2 areas. And there's enough business in those 2 areas for us to do what we need to do. So yeah, the biggest, I think quality over quantity, 100%. And I think the market is very saturated as well at the minute, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But finding the right properties and finding an operation that's efficient is far greater than patting yourself on the back and saying I've got 1,000 units all over the world, but they're actually driving me insane, causing lots of stress, maybe not making that much money. And I think that's a trick that a problem most people fall into.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I call it vanity metrics, right? The number of apartments, because you go to talk in events or networking events and everyone talks about the number of apartments. But I think when you have been more than 5 years in the industry through COVID, you realize that the number of apartments are...
Oh yeah, I mean, if you listen to any of my earlier podcasts 2-3 years ago, I was like, I want 5,000 units, and I was like taking over the world. But then certain things happen, and you realize not every unit works.
Correct. Not every owner or landlord works.
More... as much as I like the managed clients we've got, I don't really want to scale that business. I find managed clients quite hard work, and they take more staff to actually facilitate them. So for me now, it's just growing my asset portfolio.
Okay.
We make like 3 times more money by buying something and renting it as short term. The managed side of things, we will take on high end stuff. And again, that's another learning, is sort of coming away from the saturated market that everyone's playing in and get a bit unique with what we're doing. And that means the portfolio's gone down to about 280, 290 units. And I'm quite happy to keep going backwards because just put quality in over quantity and just make it more profitable.
So this journey of efficiency and cutting like a bit of general activities or general... admin team. So which are the core activities that you kept in-house?
We keep everything in-house now. So my ethos about 18 months ago was full control.
Okay.
And that's every single element of the business I want full control of. So in the UK, we have executed that. Every single person is on the books. Everyone is employed by the company. Or everything's owned by us, including linen, in the warehouses, the properties, the staff, the vans. Here, it's slightly different. We're still trying to work towards getting full control, but with visas and stuff like that, it's a bit more. It's a bit trickier than the UK to be able to just go and hire 15 cleaners or get 2 or 3 maintenance guys on the road with vans. So we have some good external companies here. But again, like anything, you go through good and bad and they let you down and they don't take full responsibility. So the ultimate goal is to get full control here. But to do that, you need more units to financially pay for it. Whereas in the UK, we have that full control. So that was a goal for me. I did look at creating my own software to create full control, but I don't think that's the investment that it takes to create that. I don't think it was needed when I looked into it, and we used some great partners, and it works well for us now for what we need it for.
Okay, so if we were to tell our audience which areas to focus on efficiency, automation, and efficiency, which would be the ones that you think have the most value?
I think it all starts with the property.
Okay.
Too many people jump into this game thinking that they can just get a 1-bed apartment and make $1,000 a month on it and invest maybe $5,000 to set it up, especially on a rental arbitrage. It's all over the internet and there's a lot of false promises out there. For me, I think that market is very saturated and there's the profit margin's not there. The risk's too high. I think you have to be playing in larger luxury properties or larger houses. So for me, in the UK, we basically buy 3, 4, 5 or 6 bed houses. We add an extra bedroom, we add bathrooms, and we rent them out to contractors mid to long term, but on short term rental prices. So it works very well for us. We've got a large portfolio of that, and we make probably circa $2,500 per property per month net. So that's kind of the first starting point for me now is the property. Out here, it's kind of 3-bed apartments or greater, villas, and kitting them out to a real luxury standard. So I think the mistake I made coming out here was I had the contractor model, which isn't necessarily luxury, and I thought I could just run that here, but that doesn't work here because Dubai's known for luxury. Everyone wants luxury. So once we've moved away from the studios and the 1-beds and gone into the larger stock, obviously the bookings are higher, the average daily rates are higher, and the profit margins are much bigger to help through summer, through Ramadan and things like that. So for me, it's the property. Then after that, I try and automate as much as I can to reduce human error and reduce the amount of staff that you need. Because as good as my staff are, they come and go. I had one the other day who failed a medical here, so she had to leave. So great, she was absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately she had to leave. She still works for us, but she now has to work remote. So there's kind of, as much as you can automate, I think a channel manager is an absolute must. I think that goes without saying, and a pricing tool. I think they're the 2 main softwares that I would advocate you have to have. From that, most channel managers now have decent cleaning tools, but I think unless you've got your cleaning team fully on the books, it's difficult to get them to use the apps.
For the training.
Whereas if they know they can potentially lose their job, if they don't use it properly, then obviously they use it. Whereas an external company, just they don't value your business no matter how much you're giving them as much. In the main, not everyone, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'd say they're kind of the 3 main things. I've got a load of other tools that we use to connect various Zapier and things like that, but they're kind of the 3 main ones.
Okay, so you have always been focusing on technology and automation, I can feel.
Yeah, because when I first started this gig, I had like a 60, 70-hour a week job, 6 days a week. So I didn't have much time to be able to manage guests. So from day one, I had a channel manager, kind of got clued up on the tech side of things and tried to automate as much of it as I possibly could so that I wasn't having to speak to guests, send codes, WhatsApping and all that sort of stuff. So I've been very tech-led from day one.
Very good. So then you move from operating also to investment. So you have Look Capital Group. So can you explain us a little bit?
Yeah. So the group structure came. It's more for, I guess, tax purposes and we had at the time we had buy-lets, we had HMOs, we had Airbnbs, we had various different things going on. I've actually again got rid of the majority of that and now just purely focus on short-term rentals. So everything we buy now is just for short-term rentals. But my focus is just buying more stock and then running it as a short-term rental. So my target this year is to buy 33 more houses. And we're on track for that. And again, that just adds a decent chunk of money into the portfolio each year, as well as the equity growth. And to do that, I don't need a massive team. I can achieve that without a massive team. Whereas the more managed contracts I take on, the bigger the team needs to be, and the margins are obviously a lot smaller. I think. Management's great, and rent to rent is great at the beginning to get you cash flow and get you going. But I think once you've got your cash pot building up, and like I do, I use online coaching to help pull in more cash to be able to buy more assets. I'd rather buy assets than go heavy into rental arbitrage now or management. But it served a great purpose for me to get to where I am today at the beginning.
We'll go there, the arbitrage, because I think it's a big thing worldwide and in Dubai especially. I think it's getting a lot of traction.
Let's take a moment to thank Mr. Alfred, our sponsor. They're not just a property management system. They're a comprehensive solution for vacation rentals, offering everything from dynamic pricing to efficient marketing. Their intuitive platform simplifies operations so you can focus on growth. Excitingly, Mr. Alfred now offers a free light version, including a channel manager with connections to over 60 OTAs. To learn more and to start streamlining your rental business, visit mr.alfred.com today.
Some investors find it difficult to get financing from banks with short-term rentals.
Yeah,
because banks don't understand the cash flow. Did you manage to work around that, or you're suffering the same problems?
I think there's always a workaround, and there's always a lender that will lend if you've got decent financials and you can prove and tick the boxes on certain things. There is no doubt that short-term rental products aren't as readily available as your standard buy-to-let products, but they are starting to also move with the times as well. So lenders are starting to realize that a lot of landlords are switching to this model, so they need to put products, because at the end of the day, they're a business. So if they're not writing the business, someone else is writing the business. You might pay, I think on average, I find you pay probably 1% more for a short-term rental product than a buy-to-let product. They tend to still value them on the bricks and mortar, whereas on HMOs, they'll value them based on the revenue that comes in. So it's not as advanced on that sense, but I think it will get there eventually. But yeah, I think there's always a way to solve a problem. You might not get a mainstream lender, but there's definitely lenders out there that you can find.
Very good. Well, I guess they can come to your website or reach to you if people want advice, no? How to finance houses or find the right lenders?
Yeah. I mean, I get DMs every day on Instagram asking, how do I do this?
Okay, maybe it's the secret formula.
How do I do that? But my advice is always just, a mortgage broker will be your best bet. Get a referral, get a recommendation, which obviously I'm more than happy to give people. I only buy in the UK. I don't buy in Dubai. I do have connections here, but all my stock is in Dubai, is in the UK. Not because I don't trust the market here. I don't think there's value in the market here. I've just got a very, very good model going on in the UK, and it works. We can make the money that we need to make doing it over and over again. I've got the team on the ground there. So it just makes sense for me to keep putting my money back there at this minute in time, rather than buying an off-plan unit here or investing into a luxury villa or something like that. The returns are fantastic here. There's no doubt about it, but it just doesn't suit my business model for where I'm at right now.
And also I've seen that, so in Dubai, you're doing management or arbitrage?
Both.
Yeah. Okay. So when did you start arbitrage?
November 2020.
So you were one of the first ones to start in Dubai, probably.
Yeah, maybe. So I basically, we'd come out of COVID. We had a good summer because it came back strong.
Correct.
And then we went back into lockdown in the UK. And I was stood on the streets, freezing cold, having a coffee with my friend. And I was like, do you want to go to Dubai next week? Because this is brutal. And Dubai, you just allowed people to start traveling again. So we were like, yeah, we literally booked the flights there and then on the pavement whilst drinking coffee. And whilst I was here, I thought I'm going to have a look around and speak to a few agents and have a sniff around. And at that time, landlords were desperate for tenants, right?
Correct.
So I was finding 6 and 8 checks were getting approved. I even had a couple of deals at 12 checks and no deposits, and there was all sorts because they just wanted people in the apartments. So I took on, I came back about 4 or 5 weeks later. We did 48 viewings and took on, I think it was 36 or 37 apartments.
Wow.
And we got them all set up within 3 weeks. Yeah. So by the end of the year, we were ready to rock and roll so that'd be 2021.
Yeah, which was the beginning of the...
Yeah. So we... and that was kind of the birth here, and got the company, got the visa, all that sort of stuff. And then I just found myself coming back more and more, so I kind of decided I'd make here the headquarters. At that time, I wanted to scale worldwide, so I thought Dubai's in the middle of the world, so it makes sense for it to be here. Obviously, that didn't pan out, but that was the idea at the time. But yeah, so that's kind of how it was born here.
So, and then you also moved to coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I actually moved to coaching before I moved to Dubai.
Ah, okay.
So, lockdown 2020 in March, I just started hosting webinars on a Wednesday night with property people because I was bored. And I then would get DMs afterwards saying, can you teach me a bit more? Do you offer any sort of coaching? So it got me thinking. And then rather than just sitting, because UK was locked down for like 3 months pretty much, first time. So I thought, right, well, I'll make some videos. I'll put a coaching program together. I'll educate myself on how to actually do it. I invested in a mentor to show me how to do it. And I birthed an Airbnb coaching program, which I scaled I think we did 1.5 million in the first 20 months. I had 284 clients at one point, but I built it so wrong. Like, I was on Zoom calls all day. I'd went from like a job, 60 hours a week, to a passive kind of Airbnb investor to giving myself a job again. So it burnt me out, and it kind of naturally lost its flow and sort of all died down. And then I kind of rebirthed that coaching model, but in a different way to help property investors monetize their knowledge to be able to fund more deals. Because one of the things that I really found from the money I was making from the coaching meant I could buy more assets. And that's what I was doing. I was just every single month buying more assets with the coaching money that was coming in. And that's allowed me to then scale my net wealth and also my Airbnb portfolio a lot quicker. That money was then used to help set up here. So the money I really saw the benefit in the money. And that for me then became my sole focus in the business, because I think as a CEO, your focus really should be kind of the highest income generating task. And I think a lot of people look at it as finding deals or project management, whereas I look at it as if I can bring the money in to constantly buy more property, then I'll have the money to be able to get people to find deals or get project managers. But then once those are set, the cash flow then comes in from those properties as well. And I enjoy it a lot more, to be honest. And
I think that's a very good, valid reason.
Yeah, I find property boring. I'll be totally honest with you. I think once you've looked at hundreds of them, set hundreds of them up, and dealt with one guest, never mind thousands, you realize that I realized it wasn't really for me, but long term for my family, my generational wealth, my passive income, I see it as my pension fund. It needs to keep growing, but I've got it in a place now where it literally grows without me pretty much and allows me to focus on what I enjoy.
And how do you see all this movement of coaching online? Because there is a lot of people now offering coaching. You probably, again, one of the first, because during COVID, a lot of people started coaching. So how do you see now this ecosystem? Because there is a lot of controversy around.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I've moved into actually helping property investors monetize their experience and do it properly in a way that's kind of client focused. Because there's too many people out there who are coaching. I mean, I have the calls where they're interested in what I do. They want help because they can't scale their coaching business, or they don't know where to start. And then I ask them to pay, and they're like, I can't afford it. And it's like, well, if you can't afford my program, you shouldn't really be coaching somebody how to build a property business, because your property business should be profitable first. And I think too many people are offering coaching without having a profitable primary business. And for me, that's morally incorrect. So I'm only working with people who I know have got profitable businesses and they want to bolt on I call it funding department to be able to grow their portfolio further. But with a client focused program where the result of the client is, the absolute priority, and everything else will then take care of itself. Making sure that you're showing up, making sure that they are moving forward, and that you can give them a roadmap to get success. And you're going to work with them long term as well. There's a lot of churn and burn, but at the same time, in defense to the coaches, there are a lot of people who think that you can invest in a mentor and they'll just make you millions, and they don't want to do the work. They don't want to show up and put the effort in. They expect them to be a savior, and no one is going to save you in life. Like, you've got to do it yourself. So even if you are paying for a mentorship, the responsibility still lies on you to get the result from that. There are good coaches and bad coaches, but in the main, I think everybody has a skill set that they can give you to get your money's worth, as long as you put the work in. So there's mixed feelings.
That's a good point. And so how can you help the audience to select a good and a bad coach? What's being a good coach? How do you can you help people to say, look?
I think social proof, referrals.
Okay.
It's like any business, really. Why would you go to one business over another business? Well, you'd have a look online, see how they're doing, see if anyone else is talking about them. Like our Airbnb businesses, they read our reviews, they see what our score is, and they might ask a few people, or they'll do a bit of a Google search around your company name. I think mentorship's no different, and if you ask the right people and you have a good look around either their profiles or their websites, or I think the best option is to actually search their names on Facebook, and you'll see what kind of comes up, and if it's all positive, then have a look and see what's going down. And if you feel like you resonate with them and they can help you and they are where you want to go, then engage and see where it takes you. I think, like anything, we have so many deal sources punting deals these days, who, I see it all the time, like 85% occupancy and make $1,000 a month, yet they've never ran an Airbnb business. It's like, well, how do you know what the costs of these things are? How do you know what the occupancy levels are? They just put numbers in a spreadsheet to sell a deal. But people buy them, and they expect, because they're lazy and they don't want to do their research and they don't want to do the due diligence. And I think if you are buying into a mentor without doing that, or buying into a property deal without doing that, you almost deserve what you're going to get if it turns out bad. and I don't mean that in a nasty way, but I think you can't expect anything for free in this life. And I think if you want something to work, even if you have a mentor, is just going to speed things up for you. You're still going to have to put the work in to make it work.
That's a good point. And so you do that in the UK or in Dubai as well?
Worldwide.
So it's not market specific?
No, so mine it's any property investment strategy, and it's worldwide. So I've got American clients, I've got Australian clients, I've got UK clients.
And what success looked like for your client? So what?
The dream outcome for me is getting them to 30K a month recurring revenue, because I feel like with 30K a month recurring revenue, you can buy a property. You can buy 12 properties in 12 months once you've got it going, especially using my strategy, which is kind of buy, refurb, refinance, and then I run them on short-term rental. So it'll cost me about 60K to do one project. So effectively, I can buy one project every 2 months, but then I'm also increasing my cash flow once those projects are live, and then I'm refinancing the money back out, maybe 75, 80% of it. So I think, well, I don't think, I know, because I've done it, you can buy 12 properties in 12 months by earning 30K a month through your, what I call funding.
It's compounding, basically it's compounding the cash flow in equity, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So now moving to arbitrage, also another topic of controversy and a lot of attention lately. Yeah. Actually, we did a forum last week in Dubai about that topic, and it was a success of audience. And so what's your opinion about also this hype now in social media about the business? How is arbitrage well done? How is arbitrage done only for the lights and the show?
No, I think it does work, and I built a great, at one point I had £1 million in rent in my rental arbitrage portfolio, which it worked. I made a lot of money from it, but when the market turned a bit, there were some units that started to really hemorrhage money. And out here as well, you have to be very cautious with the summer periods. So I think if you are engaged in rental arbitrage, again, it comes back to the point I made at the beginning about it's about the property. The property is the key driver in the profit. If you are following the herd and going into the saturated market of studios and one beds, and that's the same in the UK, everyone seems to be diving into like 2-bed apartments. There's so many of them, and they're all dressed the same that you really have to. It's almost potluck, I think, if you actually make any money at that game. Whereas if you do something slightly different, then rental arbitrage totally works. Like we still rent 5-6 bed houses in the UK. We'll still rent 3-4 bed apartments here. But we do them in a way that means we stand out from the crowd, and then we get the bookings. The nightly rates are higher, so it means the profit margins are higher. So you can swallow any swings in economic downturns or summer periods here, winter periods in the UK where the heating bills go up. So I think fundamentally the strategy works, and I think it's a great strategy, and I think it's a win-win for landlord and also for the host. Where it doesn't work is if you go into it blind, thinking that it's the next shiny penny quick win. I think you've got to expect that it's hard work, and if you get it wrong, then it could be a financial disaster for
Very
you.
risky.
But if you get it right, then it could be very... I mean, I don't know whether it's true, but there's a rumor going around here for years that they during COVID, apparently there was a kid who rented 10 villas on the Palm for 5 years at 250,000 dirhams a year per villa. Now, if that's true, he will be making an absolute fortune right now. As you know, they'll
Correct.
probably be going for 1.5 to 2 million a year per villa. I'm sure the landlord's probably trying to get them back, but so if you're brave enough and you have a unique opportunity, then yes, you can make a lot of money out of it. But if you come to here or even in the UK and just go and rent 5 standard apartments and you just kit them out standard, you're really playing Russian roulette with your money.
But also at the same time, Dubai is a quite transparent market in the sense that the information is available and for everyone.
Yeah.
And it seems saturated. And the spread between long term and short term, it's low.
Yeah.
If not long term, is more than short term.
Yeah.
That's also the elephant in the room that some people don't want to admit.
Yeah.
So how can you compete or differentiate yourself, or what is the key skill or what to focus on in order to find these deals that everyone is looking after?
Yeah, I think, again, with rental arbitrage, most people go into the smaller stock because most people are getting into rental arbitrage as their first step into this world. So they go, well, to kit a 1-bed out costs
Smaller ticket.
Cost me like 20,000 dirhams, whereas to kit a proper 3-4 bed out could be like 70, 80, 90, 100,000. So they almost, it's kind of backwards reverse because they've not got the funds to actually go into the bigger stuff. They just go into the smaller stuff, but the smaller stuff's not going to perform. So if they could either save up and wait a bit longer to get a bigger unit, I think that would be a better starting point. Same in the UK, to go into a 4 or 5 bed house and kit that out is going to be a lot more expensive than a 1-bed apartment or a 2-bed apartment. But you will make more money. The profit margins are greater so that you've got that spread in case something does turn against you. So I think I'm all for rental arbitrage. Like if someone came to me today and said, do you want to take on 5 villas and they were priced right, I would 100% do it because I know that the profit's in them.
But there's a lot of FOMO, no? Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
From everyone.
Yeah.
The landlord is scared of having what happened in COVID, that they lost this 1 million opportunity. So I find it very, very, it's an amazing skill if you can find the asset that performs.
It's very, very difficult here in the last year, as you mentioned earlier. We've given a lot of our rental stock back because unfortunately you're not protected by the DLD increases, because they'll just say, well, we'll not sign you will not sign the NOC to get your DTCM license, so unless you pay the higher rent. So we've been shafted with that by quite a few landlords, and then they're wanting basically last year's profit. That's the increase in rent that they're wanting. So then you're like, well, if the market doesn't go up or the daily rates don't go up, I'm going to lose money here. The risk's too great. So we give a lot of the stock back. there will be swings like anything. As we saw in COVID, there was no long terms. So everyone was doing short term, and landlords were just willing to do any deal whatsoever to get their properties rented and just get some money in. There's service charges and things like that here, which cost them a fortune. So I think it's about timing the opportunity on the right stock, rather than rushing in because some guy on TikTok saying he's making a load of money when he's probably not. I mean, there's one guy on TikTok at the minute who is claiming a lot of stuff, but I look at how much he's spending on setting these things up, and I'm like, I'm not sure you're going to get the return back on that.
That's the key also. The initial investment is so big that the protection of the years of rent in Dubai, it's very low.
Well, you could get kicked out after 12 months.
So how do you depreciate the investment at the beginning? It's especially if you want to high-end 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, we're talking about what? $25,000-$30,000 investment in furniture if you don't need to renovate. So
It's again, it's like
I'm a bit skeptical in
arbitrage.
I
think
I don't know if you can feel it.
It's like everything, isn't it? It's the definition of an entrepreneur is someone who takes financial risk for financial rewards. So you have to put yourself out there if you want to try and move yourself ahead. I think with the amount of readily available information now, you can make a lot better decisions. And with the amount of come back to the coaching side, the amount of mentors out there are good ones out there who can steer you. Like, for example, I don't actually coach on that side anymore, but if someone came to me and said, I want to invest in Dubai and I'm going to do this, I could certainly either help them make a lot more money or help them save a lot of money by just giving them the right advice, because I've done it. I've been there. Whereas people see it on TikTok and they go, oh, that's easy to do. I'll just go speak to a landlord. But they don't know the data. They don't know what they're looking for. They could take on the bad properties. And even here in Dubai, one thing I didn't appreciate when I thought I'd just bring the UK model over here. It was a total different business model altogether. Even just getting people into the blocks through security.
You cannot automate that.
Even just getting the cleaners into security. Some days they will not let them in if you don't have the right paperwork. You don't have and it just adds that layer of complication. But everyone sees, I get it all the time in my DMs. They're like, oh, I want to set up in Dubai. And I'm like, have you got going in the UK yet? No. I'm like, just start there.
Go easy and then
just figure that one out first. Like, don't chase this shiny penny because everyone says it's great on social media. I'm telling you now, it's so much harder to build a business here short term than it is back in the UK.
And to be honest, I see a lot of young people like being like following the shiny object, and I feel like be careful because
100% be careful. But at the same time,
it's a business as well. You need to understand finance, cash flow. It's a cash flow business.
Yeah, 100% cash flow business.
Cash flow is not easy to understand.
No. And in Dubai, you need cash flow because you cannot default.
Not correct.
So, but at the same time, I don't want to come across as negative to the whole thing. You can make a lot of money doing this. Like, you can make a lot of money renting properties and spinning them, subletting them on Airbnb. You just need to get the right property. If you get the right property, you can 100%, 7 figures within a very short space of time. But you need the right stock and you need the right contracts as well. As you say, especially here, after 12 months, you could get kicked out. So you need to make sure you're protecting yourself on that front.
Perfect. So let's leave it at this positive note then. So we always end with the same question. So you're a mentor, you're a coach, but where did you seek inspiration? Any book, any podcast, any mentor you have had?
I think my inspiration, I guess, came from I just wanted to. I always struggled to work for somebody else. And I always felt when I was working for somebody else, I was building their business because, I'd put my full effort into it and I was pretty good at what I did. So I always felt like I was making them the money and not me. And I always felt I was here to do better things. I've always kind of led people. So even through school, I was captains of swimming teams, rugby teams, and so on and so forth. So I felt like I've always been a bit of a leader. So, inspiration-wise, there's no real one person. I mean, marketing-wise, I've always liked marketing. I think if you can generate leads into a business, you're always going to have a successful business. So, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, Alex Hormozy, they're kind of the topical ones now, but they're definitely the 3 that I've followed for quite some time, probably the last decade. And then I just live in my own world. Like, I don't watch news. I don't really. I promote on social media, but I don't spend time on social media. I don't really give a shit what people say about me on social media or what's going on in the industry. I just kind of live in my bubble and just get on with what I do. And if I feel like I'm struggling, I will then look for the expert in whatever I'm struggling with. And I've had some great mentors over the years. I'm working with 2 at the minute who are fantastic. And they've always pointed me in the right direction. And I feel like I take my inspiration from them more than a specific person or anything that's happened in my past or anything like that.
Very good. So thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I hope everyone enjoyed the show, and till the next episode.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Next Gen Rentals is brought to you by our main sponsor, Mr. Alfred. Mr. Alfred specializes in making vacation rental management effortless.